Hey there, it's time for the show, the Tatiana Show, where you make friends and talk life and crypto. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tatiana Show. Today, we're going to be talking about music with my good friend David Weiss from Sonic Scoop. But before we bring him on, I want to say hello to my handsome co-host. Hello, Josh Agala of Voltoro. What's going on in the gold biz?
Everything's happening. It's a crazy time. We launched this promo to give grams of gold. We already gave a kilo out in like that, and then we decided to bring another kilo. So it's people are loving it, getting affiliate grams.
I still have not gotten my affiliate gram information, so we'll have to do that. But what do you think? What's going to happen in the world, right? People are looking at Bitcoin kind of pumped for a little while, then it pulled back a little bit. I mean, do you think that gold is a better buy right now? I feel like do you think that maybe they could make Bitcoin illegal in some way and then all of a sudden make it, or at least make it a lot harder to get? I don't know.
Well,
I thought that Bitcoin would pump more, I guess is what I'm saying too, with all the things that are going on.
Yeah, it's a weird upside down world because we have stocks going up when, all like in airlines, while all the airlines are grounded. It just nothing makes sense anymore. The pump protection team's buying up everything. Pretty much the Fed owns the entire stock market of the US at the moment because the repo market's just chewing through everything. But I think gold, it depends who you are. If you've got a risk appetite, if you're a bit older, you don't want really risky investments, but you want something that's safer than the banking system. So I would say definitely gold is a good buy, and especially allocated gold, because allocated gold's very liquid if it's a trusted place. And of course, Bitcoin for those that have a little bit. And for me, I'm a big fan of diversification across real rare assets. So gold and Bitcoin is obviously something that's very, very important to look at during these times. Very important. Yeah.
How do you know what a safe form of gold is? So wait, let's bring in Dave because I want to get his opinion on this. Dave and I know each other from the music industry for, I don't know, maybe 15 years or more, God knows, which is wonderful. We've stayed good friends. And he transitioned from the music tech writing space, and he still has Sonic Scoop and he still does that. But now I lured him into Bitcoin. He credits me, and I'm so pleased with that because he was my only friend for years who's totally been on board, and he's kind of morphed into it. So thanks so much, Dave, for joining us and taking this little detour into Gold Town, because I just have another quick question before we dive into the music stuff.
No,
Thanks so much.
I want to hear what he says too. So I'm on the edge of my seat.
Awesome. So wait, Josh, this is my question. People say that there's allocated gold. Let's say that we have a massive, big problem, right? Apparently, these paper certificates that trade of gold are crap. Allocated gold is supposed to be really good. But then if I'm in the US and you have a vault in Switzerland and I'm not allowed to go there and the internet goes down, it's not as good as holding physical gold in your house. So can you explain to me the differences between those and what's the safest way for people to do it with all this uncertainty again?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very, very good question. And I think really what it comes down to is holding gold at home is dangerous, folks. It's dangerous. In fact, most insurance companies won't even insure it because the insurance companies, all they do is price risk. And if the insurance companies, it costs so much to insure gold at home because the risk is so huge. Allocated gold is different than ETFs. ETFs is all owned by a bank. The gold is on their balance sheet. So if the bank goes bust, they'll just, say, well, that's our gold. It's not the ETF owners. And then there'll be a big, lawyer fest, the lawyers munching on the gold. Whereas allocated gold is in your name as your legal property. No one else can touch it. It's yours. The company just holds it for you. It's under a bailment contract. It's a bailment law thing, which means the vaulting company looks after the gold that's your property. And this is a very different legal thing, So the thing is with picking it up during these uncertain times, what you want to do is look for a vault where you can easily sell stuff. That's the other good thing. If you take gold out, gold that's allocated has never seen the sun usually. It's just gone from the mine to the smelter to the vault, and it sits there and it's approved by the LBMA. And so the wider investment market can easily move this stuff around. It's very, very liquid. You can sell it like that. Whereas if you take gold at home, sometimes they will give you a really bad premium because, well, is it fake? Is it real? We need to melt it down to, check it out and stuff like that. So there's a whole lot of costs involved. And that's why a lot of people use on Vaultoro, of course, people trade in and out between Bitcoin and allocated gold in Switzerland and fully insured and audited. And that's what else you need to look for. Make sure it's audited, make sure it's insured by a third-party large auditing firm, not just some like, oh yeah, it's audited by my mate. It's like, no, it's audited by BDO International. It's audited by serious people. And that's what you want to look for. And no one will insure it until it's been audited as well. So you want to have those two as a thing. But yeah, make sure you also get gold that is, a good mark, not, a good brand. Because if you get some strange thing, then it also loses value on the way. There's bigger spreads.
Wait,
basically.
gold is branded?
Yeah, you can have different brands. Obviously there's also conflict gold, and there's certain brands that make sure they don't go and find conflict gold. Of course, it can sneak its way in. There's lots of ways for people to try and profit from buying gold cheap from these conflict zones and then trying to get it into the system. But the LBMA, for instance, the London Bullion Market Association, they really try hard to uphold their brand. To say, look, our gold, we really make sure the brands that we do, we check them, that it isn't conflict gold, and it's this sort of thing that's really important. And it's not only conflict gold; it's like gold that's sourced well, not just throwing arsenic down holes and having children dig for it, stuff like that. So this is important stuff, I think, in as we move forward in society.
Wait, what? Arsenic down a hole and make children dig for it? What?
Well, a lot of the way you get gold from its ore is using quite harsh other metals like and other components like arsenic
Oh.
to release gold from the other compounds. So it's important that it's done well. And there's a lot of the way you get gold out of the ground now has really come a long way. There are very, very good, clean methods of doing this nowadays. But a lot of the time there's like old mines that are in dodgy areas, and people are desperate, so they'll just open it up and go down there and send their family members and dig for me. We need money, and it's really terrible. But the industry is something that you need to make sure you scope, learn about. Subscribe to the Twitter. My Twitter, I'm often tweeting stuff, but it's really important to educate yourself on this. But again, back to the first question, make sure you diversify into these rare assets at this time, because the last thing you want to do, a lot of people said, only put as much into Bitcoin as you're willing to lose. Nowadays, it's like only leave as much in the bank as you're willing to lose, because it's starting to look sketchy.
Did you ever think that we'd be talking about gold when we first met, Dave? I don't think these conversations come up in the music world, right? What was it about Bitcoin that made you interested in participating? Was your vision about this future of the financial world? Like, what was it that made you actually listen to me?
Right. That's a great question. Well, first off, it was because the first Bitcoin I ever bought, which I think was in 2014, was purely on your advice, and really the passion that you were demonstrating for Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and blockchain, and how I could see it was really transforming your life. Like I was seeing it because I had already known you for several years at that time. We met when you were the studio manager at Quad Studios, right? Working for our friend Ricky Hazen. And for those who don't know, Quad is one of the best recording studios in New York City. It's at a famous address in Midtown, 723 7th Avenue. I was in that building all the time. And when I met you, yes, it was purely like based on audio, and I think our mutual really like excitement about being in recording studios, which is
Wasn't
something
Tupac shot there or something? Was that?
That's
Yes.
correct. Yeah,
Yes.
outside. yes, and
I thought it
we
was in the
know.
lobby, but either way, yeah, Tupac got shot there.
Yeah, right.
That's
Yeah,
our
it
claim to
wasn't
fame. People love
in the
that.
studio. Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, Tupac didn't.
No, he did
Yeah.
not.
He did
Thumbs
not.
down.
And we do know people who were there. Yeah. So let's see. So then I could see how really excited you were about Bitcoin, and you really like were like, get into this, get some Bitcoin, figure out how it works. So I did. And then it was really kind of dormant for me for a while. I actually am one of those people who bought some Bitcoin and literally forgot about it for a while.
Oh, good.
And and then
Did you forget the
and
password?
no, I mean
Why? Because
I
I told you that was the most important and only thing that you need to know about
I
Bitcoin is don't
right.
mess up your password.
Yeah, keep your keys. Yep. Yeah. So I'm on that, and thank you. And but then actually I was uh, after I got Bitcoin, I shouldn't say I forgot about it entirely, but I did start to follow it. I saw that the Wall Street Journal uh, started to ramp up its coverage on it and that type of thing. And I'm a technology writer. I write about a great deal of technology, audio production, broadcast production that went into broadband wireless, AV, free space optics, lots of field, anything where engineers are making it happen. That's my wheelhouse. Is it turns out I'm really good at interviewing engineers and getting them excited about what they do, things that their families don't want to hear about when they are done with work. I wanted to hear about it. And so that's why I was able to start building up both sonicscoop.com, which is a leading resource for music production information, and everyone should visit it. And but also simultaneously building up my content strategy practice at dwords.com, dwords.com. Visit me there as well, because that's where I do a lot of B2B content strategy work. And I didn't like reading about Bitcoin, blockchain, and cryptocurrency and feeling confused about it. It was starting to eat away at me because I could clearly see that it was here to stay. I think, like a lot of people, it was not. It wasn't obvious if this was going to be a tech that was going to stay or go. And so, but once I saw it was sticking around, I wanted to learn more about it. And um, the way my mind works is, if I really want to learn about something, I've actually got to write about it, not just read about it. And Tatiana, again, it was actually at your another thing you put in motion was back in 2018. You let me know that there was an opportunity for me to write for Bitcoin Magazine, covering their podcast network. And I was massively intimidated, but this was, to me, I really appreciated the opportunity you were putting forth to me. Fortunately, what they wanted me to do was listen to a podcast a week, select a podcast a week, and write about it. And but it wasn't just summarize it. The editor there, Christy Harkin, asked me to please find what I thought was the most interesting part of the entire podcast and base the article around that. So there really was no way for me to get around really diving in at that point to be able to create knowledgeable articles. It was an intense period in my life because I really wanted it to come through. I wanted to be able to write for them and start writing for companies in this space as well. And all that has materialized.
Let me ask you. So, are you getting with your conversations with fellow music people, especially here in New York? Have you noticed any kind of an interest in crypto? Are they still kind of falling behind? How do you think that that's changed?
uh, a, with musicians and you and engineers,
Engineers,
like the
everybody,
people.
just across the board. I'm curious. Have you been hearing about crypto more now? And I'm sure your ear is a little
Mhm.
bit more tuned to it just because of the fact that, when you hear about Bitcoin, you always want to hear more. But have you
Yes.
noticed people accepting it more? I think I noticed a lot of the guys I used to work with at the studio are in the crypto game now. You know, maybe that's because of the hip hop influence. Obviously, I worked at a lot of hip hop studios, so I don't know. What have you
Mhm.
noticed?
Well, I would say that the interest level of people in the music industry probably mirrors that of the general population that I run into. And there are people all across the spectrum, people who are really digging into it and want to know how it can improve their bottom line or help move the industry forward in what they do. I certainly know engineers who ears perked up right away at the potential of blockchain to improve tracking credits, for example, which has really been like one of the largest problems that the industry has had for a long time, is making sure that not just the lead singer in the project is properly credited, but also the tracking engineer, the mixer, the mastering engineer, and that all those things are kept together and that they don't get lost and that they're accurate. And certainly an immutable ledger like blockchain can absolutely handle that, and that would be a great thing for their. So I see that also they're
Wait, wait,
interested.
wait.
Yes,
Sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to comment on that because I've been
sure.
following, some music blockchain projects. And what I was told with the rights management is that it's more of a political issue versus a tech issue because of the entrenched interests of different organizations in the music industry, and they're not all on the same page. And so there's a lot of ego. Would you be able to comment on that, or do you think that that's a component of it?
So I think where the politics come in probably is different organizations having different ways that they think is best to do it, and I think that's where things maybe get bogged down. I don't think there's any disagreement that it's important for people's credits to be included. And a big reason that it matters is not just the money, because a lot of people involved in these projects are doing work for hire. They're not necessarily getting royalties, but if that project goes on to win a Grammy or get nominated for one, then it does become critically important for their names to be attached to these projects, for example. So, and that in turn could create some financial uptick for them later on, help them attract more clients. Winning awards is just a big deal still, and so what I've seen is that when these solutions come up to track credits, for example, they can get backed by a certain regulatory body, or not regulatory body, but a body like the Recording Academy, for example, may put its weight behind it. But there may be other organizations, there may be unions that don't like that process, for example. So, like anything, it can get politicized, um, and it will be difficult for something to really emerge, because this does sound like a situation where you need one clear winner, right? A reference point that everyone can agree on. Competition is always good and healthy, and that builds up what's possible out there. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I would say politics are something that gets in the way, and if politics are getting in the way, I probably money is getting in the way too, in some
Yeah.
ways that are unseen.
But don't you think that if you have one body, then why not just run a database? Why aren't they just running a database? So,
Uh-huh.
and the other thing is, if I feel like it's the same with people that start startups. They're like they start the startup and they're let's think about the shares and everything later. Let's just build. And then
Mhm.
it becomes popular, and then they start thinking about the shares, and then the greed takes over, and they're like, but I built more. It's way better in the start for like musicians. Let's say they start a band, just go, hey, there's this blockchain. We could just
Mhm.
enter in who does what and who's part of this little project right now before it's worth anything, and it just proves who was part of it. And that's all you should have to prove is the blockchain that's being this info is being served to, is it capable of being immutable?
Mhm.
First thing, and B, well, if it is, then well, there's your legal, well, there's the history, I should say, of who took
Mhm.
part at that moment in time.
Right. Yeah. No, it's a great point, Josh. Actually, what it speaks to is not like the process or the format that is selected to track everyone's credits at that time of creation. It's actually the the time honored problem is actually getting musicians to stop at the moment that a song has been written and say, okay, let's decide who how much credit everybody gets for this song right now, like, and let's just make sure to jot down that the four of us were in this room, uh uh who the guitarist started this riff. Do they get 45% or 50% or just 25%? Do we split it all evenly? That's what's known universally as a buzzkill. and and really is uh, uh, while it would be ideal, is pretty widely recognized as actually a huge barrier to equal distribution of song ownership.
Yeah, I
It's
want to
because
comment on that because
yes,
people don't. I know this because I was, the battle axe in charge of everybody, and I would make them give me their session reports, death threats, curses, like nothing, like treats, nothing would motivate. I'm telling you, 75% of people can't fill out a simple form just explaining what songs were worked on. I wanted to die. It was the most frustrating thing. But people don't want to do that. You're in the vibe, you don't want to break it up. I think something that could be interesting is something that would kind of automatically process it, like while you're going in and
hmm
while you're putting things into, let's say, Pro Tools or whatever, if it's assigning some kind of attribution at that point. Um, but again, the human error is a really big problem. But I mean, that's not going to be mitigated by one thing or another necessarily right away either, unless, of course, it's an automated process that could certainly help.
right, yep, absolutely, yeah. Tatiana, I'm sure you've been right on the ground floor as these conversations have unfolded, or you have to make a decision not to bring it up. And I have absolutely seen terrific bands like destroyed right in front of my eyes
Why?
by by arguments over songwriting credit and the money that turned out to be at stake. Uh, yeah, later on, yeah, when everything was awesome in the rehearsal space, on through to a recording contract. Yeah, things can definitely get sticky. And Josh, at that point, I think the other thing you said, well, let's put on the blockchain. I think that that gets back to this central thing. At the end of the day, is do people really care what it's built on as long as it works? And uh, I I don't think so for the most part. Like musicians or anyone, just like you don't know really what platform Instagram or Zoom was built on. You just want it to work. Um, and so that's why I feel like a lot of the projects there, I have seen several attempts at music based blockchain projects try and take off. Tatiana, yours, Token FM, is the one that I'm the most interested in, because to me it seems the most comprehensive and
Thanks.
well thought out. Yes,
Yeah, same,
absolutely.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys. And by the way, I got to give a plug because me and Adam Levine from Tokenly, which made Token FM, we just did an interview a few weeks ago. So if people are interested in our take on crypto and art and music and stuff, we're really early on the scene.
Oh
So
yeah.
that was cool. Yeah, I'm really proud of the platform. So thank
I
you.
mean, I
Hopefully
think
people can
Yeah.
try it soon.
So good. I mean, Adam, he pretty much invented the term token, like brought the word token as a normal nomenclature into the crypto space back then. And your work, Tatiana, is absolutely so important in this space. It's so bleeding edge, and really, you should be proud of your little part in history of music. Absolutely.
Wow. Thank you. I appreciate that. But I'll tell you guys, I was sitting around this weekend and, you look at all the news and it's all depressing. And I was looking at the MTV Music Awards. And if you really want to get depressed, you should really watch those because it's just like so bad. And it makes me sad because, I came to New York. I was from Jersey, but, I was in New York working at recording studios. I was a hard worker. I would do everything that I could. There's one thing I am not, and that is lazy. I worked really hard, and it's virtually impossible to have a sustainable music career. I'm about to do an album with my colleague Will Hensley, right? By the time that I'm done, it'll probably cost me 30 grand for the production. And that's really cheap for high quality production because I get, discounts and stuff. But let's say I want to put out music, right? Okay, so I'm already 30K in the hole. That's before any marketing. How am I going to make up that money? And so I get really depressed when I think about how much I want to do music more often. But I always feel like I'm banging my head against this problem, which for the average artist, they're not going to be Lady Gaga. They're not going to be playing on a meat piano. Sorry, ladies, your dreams are dashed. They just want to be able to pay their bills and not have to have 6 waitressing jobs. And I think that that's really where crypto has a really good opportunity because you can monetize all kinds of different things. Whereas the opportunity to make money has just completely dwindled. Yes, you can do Patreon things, and that's what we leverage those ideas. So you can take a Tatianacoin and you can take the decentralized nature of a protocol and you can actually link people together where they actually have a lot more ownership and control over what's going to happen. You won't see so many different videos on YouTube because of the weird censorship and because of the weird algorithms. You have no control over your future. I've built up audiences on all these different platforms that I didn't own anything, And so when I would have to leave that platform, then I can't take my fans with me. That's not a sustainable thing. So I'm happy to be at that forefront, but I would like there to be more participation in that. And I think that we've seen a lot of good indications with, like NFTs and stuff like that. And, we've been experimenting with those since early on too, but there's that Shatner token and that's doing really well. So it's like a baseball card, exactly how like I was calling Tatianacoin. I'm like, it's like a baseball card. And and now there really is one, a virtual baseball card-ish thing for William Shatner. And it's trading like crazy and people are making a ton of money off of it. So why can't an artist do that? And then all of a sudden you might have a little bit of a diversity in the messaging for artists. Because as much as I like to bang, I don't really think every single song needs to be a porno. Like it's too much for me, too much. But I'm just, I'm on my soapbox. Sorry, guys, but I feel so passionate about this, and I'm always happy to be able to talk about it. I don't know,
Yeah,
Dave. What
I
do
have
you
an
think?
opinion of that as
Oh,
well.
what's
Go
your
ahead,
opinion,
Josh.
Josh?
David, no, David first. David first, please.
Well, I was just going to say that I do of the blockchain solutions that I've seen out there for the music world. I do believe fan engagement is where we're going to see like the breakthrough because it's capable of connecting the most dots. I just think that the roadblock that comes up is how the companies behind this make a sustainable revenue stream, and I think that's what they're looking for, and that's what I see in all the blockchain plays, and that's why I get pitched by a lot of publicists on blockchain projects for the music world, and I usually don't bite because I don't see something sustainable, something that I think is going to stay in business for a while yet. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I do hope to see that. So, Josh, what were you going to add?
Well, everyone was always talking about blockchain, 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 and about immutable databases, and that's the killer app for a while there, before. And then a lot of us were saying, no, 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 currency, that's the killer app for blockchain. That's the killer app. And the ICO, as terrible as it was also absolutely phenomenal. It was an amazing new way of raising funds without some central party. And I really feel that musicians, that the killer app for blockchain in the music space really is allowing artists to ICO themselves or ICO an album and allow those to be keys for extra stuff. And an artist has to do the groundwork first. They have to have a fan base, of course, for this to work. But having that, even a small fan base and a very passionate one, will allow them to purchase the album before and chat with the artist, or an extra song or something like that. That's limited edition, and this is, I think, super powerful. And I think that's where you were going, right, David? Is that's really an interesting thing, engaging with the fans. And as much as I love the whole credits, tracking credits and all this sort of stuff, I feel, pardon my French, but shit in, shit out. And that's the thing with database. You have the wrong stuff in and the wrong stuff out. If someone enters the wrong stuff, it's not going to be good. So at the end of the day, currency is where it's at. And, I use currency every day. I hardly have a use for an immutable database every single day.
And Josh, what you're saying reminds me of the precedents that we do have for that type of thing to take off, which was like the Kickstarter campaigns. And we absolutely saw how when artists created these customized incentives for their fans to participate and engage directly with the artist, that depending on the artist and depending on the incentive, then it could be a big hit. And so, and blockchain, I think, can really unfold that in a lot of different directions. I'll be excited to see that. I do think it's going to happen. But Tatiana, do you think how many people do you think are in blockchain right now that are trying to find the best music solution versus the best DeFi application right now, or the best DeFi strategy?
Right now, I think a lot more people are interested in DeFi.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's going to feed my soul. I think that, I don't know, we need to do something different for music, because it can't just be the way that it is right now. It's too, I don't know. And also, I miss discovery of artists. I find it to be difficult. I know I can just search by name and stuff, but I don't know. I like the idea of curation and community around different things. So I have a question, though. I want to just really quickly, because I know we're coming up out of time soon. The MP3, when
Mhm.
the MP3 came out, it was, the bane of existence in music, because it was poor quality. Do we still listen to the same poor quality MP3s, and now we just don't care about the loss of fidelity there?
Oh, I wouldn't say so at all. It really depends. I think part of it depends on the listener. If they're listening to a streaming music format or a lightweight music format, they're going to balance a number of things against sound quality. To me, those include price and convenience. And I think a lot of people have their equation between the price, the convenience, and the audio quality, and they arrive at their same conclusion. Like, I have uh, I have a free subscription to Spotify, but I don't use it on my phone at all, because Apple Music was able to entice me to try Apple Music for a month, I think, for free, and I could absolutely hear the difference in the audio fidelity between what I stream from Apple Music versus Spotify. And to me,
Wait,
that's,
who is better?
oh, Apple Music. Sorry, you're right. I wasn't clear. Well, or maybe what I was going to say next would have clarified it, that I was perfectly willing to fork out $9.99 a month to be able to magically pull a song out of the air. I'll never get over streaming music on my phone. It's just amazing versus when I was a kid, what I had to go through to hear a song whenever I wanted. I literally was one of those kids who was getting on my bike and riding a mile to the record store to buy one record. And actually, it wasn't until several trips that it occurred to me that I could buy 2 records in one trip, assuming I had the money. But so just this ability to do this is amazing. And but I think lots of people make their own judgments on uh, how important fidelity is, and just a lot of people, the average listener probably just isn't even aware. If they were, they'd be using better headphones. They'd probably only be subscribing to Tidal, which streams audio in uncompressed format. Uh,
Wow.
eh,
But
yeah.
you only have
So
limited tracks in Tidal. You don't have all the stuff
is
that
that
you
right?
have
Yeah.
in. I think so. Yeah, I think
Oh,
they have some
sure.
exclusive stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh yeah, they don't have absolutely everybody. And though and don't take my word for everything I'm saying about Tidal, but I will say that I've heard it. It's really good. When I go into studios and they want me to check out and their critical listening environments, they usually have a subscription to Tidal. Uh, so yeah, but fidelity is a personal choice, Tatiana.
I made the wrong bet. I back then, before the iPod, it was like this new MP3 thing or this mini disc thing. Mini disc looks super cool. I'm
Right?
going mini disc. Fail. I failed because the better quality, nah, whatever. Anyway,
It's
I got
perfectly all
burnt.
right to go for something because you think it looks cooler. I read an interview with a wine expert, and they said that if you're in a wine store and you've got like 5 bottles of Chardonnay looking at you, you don't know anything about them, and they're all the same price or in the same price range, go ahead and get the bottle that looks the coolest. I validate your choice, Josh.
Okay, so we're out of time, but do we have time for one more question, Dave?
Sure, yes, I do. Yeah,
Okay,
we
great.
do.
What is the future? Okay, you've been obviously at the forefront of the recording industry, right? When I first started out, I was at Chungking, Avatar, big, cool recording studios. Now people are trapped in their little apartments
Mhm.
with Pro Tools. What do you think is the future of audio? I mean, is there going to be a place for a physical recording studio? And how much of an improvement in audio quality are you going to get with today's current at-home setup? Let's say you spend 5 grand versus
Mhm.
a real recording studio, which at different points would have $1 million worth of equipment in it. Like where do you think that future is
Well,
going to go?
that's a great question, and I could talk about that for an hour. But I'll say 2 things that differentiate and will make the professional dedicated recording studio continue to be important. One actually is a factor you didn't mention, but I know you're very tuned into, which is the engineer. And when I interview audio engineers, I've done a lot of mixing and recording myself, and I certainly know the difference between me and a professional engineer who absolutely understands the physics of what's going on in recording audio. They are true engineers, especially the best of them. They understand what everything is doing and what's supposed to be doing, and the components that go into the gear and how to make the most of it. So when you go into a professional studio, you'll get a professional engineer. And if they're good at what they do, they will make your music sound better. And that certainly can't hurt. Uh, I also think what they bring is good critical listening environments, and that really matters if you're understanding if the mixes you're making are going to translate, as they say, in the real world, if they'll sound good in earbuds. You can probably get a better mix in these professional rooms, though, of course, there are plenty of people who are able to learn their own systems in their personal studios and make platinum mixes that way. But the critical listening environments matter in these places. And then the last thing I'd add is that live rooms are really irreplaceable, and there may not be as many of them now as there are. It's part of a business model that's hard to sustain. But if you want to, I'm a drummer. I love to play the drums. I am not going to play a drum set in my apartment here in Manhattan. I'm not going to do it. And it wouldn't record well, and my neighbors would kill me. So you gotta factor in how important live spaces are for recording a ton of music. So I think all those things will make it good. I'm glad that it's someone else's business, not my business. I'd rather write about it than be involved in it, but it's certainly interesting to watch. And just the last thing I'll add, Tatiana, is that everything I hear is that sales of professional recording equipment are actually way on the rise right now during this pandemic. That lots of people are ordering recording interfaces and microphones and doing everything they can to be able to record well at home. And I'm totally all for that. At the end of the day, I want more music to be made.
I can admit I've been scoping the Arturia Keylab Mark II 81.
You can have some fun, yeah. Is that an analog synth?
No, well, it interfaces to all the analog synths that Arturia made.
Fun.
To all of them, and so there's a massive. I still miss my DX7 and DX11 that I had as a kid.
As you should
jump in and play with those. Yeah,
that's a classic.
Yeah, it's funny that you're on the show today because I literally tweeted for the first time something about synthesizers this morning. It's like, when do I do that? Never.
I'm going to read that tweet.
Yeah. Okay, so wait, before we sign off, Dave, sonicscoop.com, what's your Twitter handle?
It's Sonic Scoop. It's underscore Sonic Scoop.
Underscore.
No, wait,
Sonic.
is that my Instagram? Sorry, just Sonic Scoop. Yeah,
just look for Sonic Scoop. Google Dave Weiss. He's a cool, awesome friend of mine based here in New York, holding it together. Guys, I'm so sorry that this show is ending. I feel like I have 100 more questions, but we'll have to have you back on soon. We could geek out on some audio stuff. I know Frank on our team would love it if we would keep going, but far we got to end the show. Thank you everybody for watching the Tatiana Show. Thank you, Dave, for coming. Thank you, Josh. Thank you everybody for listening. We'll see you next time on the Tatiana Show. What's the point of all this technology without a little love in our lives? Our hosts, Tatiana Moroz, Dr. Stephanie Murphy, and Lauren Kasovitz have come together to bring you Proof of Love. Go to proofoflovecast.com. The Tatiana Show has been brought to you by CryptoMediaHub.com, a boutique marketing and PR agency for Bitcoin and beyond. Hey there, it's time for the show, the Tatiana Show, where you make friends and talk life and crypto. We gotta think and reflect and use lots of intellect with our hearts when we work together. I know that it can be so hard out there, looking all around and saying that life ain't fair. So that is why we will fight and stay up late at night, listening to the Tatiana Show. Thank you for listening to the Tatiana Show. Please follow us on Twitter at Queen Tatiana or on Facebook and Instagram at Tatiana Moroz Music. More episodes can be found at thetatianashow.com, and make sure you leave a review on iTunes and tell your friends. You are listening to The Tatiana Show. This show may contain adult content, language, and humor and is intended for mature audiences. If that's not you, please stop listening. Nothing you hear on The Tatiana Show is intended as financial advice, legal advice, or really anything other than entertainment. Take everything you hear with a grain of salt. Oh, and if you're listening to us on an affiliate network, the ideas and views expressed on this show are not necessarily those of the network that you're listening on or of any sponsors or any affiliate products you may hear about on this show.